Welcome and thank you for joining me today on our Pick Me Up. Today we're going to look at what are you seeing in the mirror? I want to start with a couple of quotes by Ernest Holmes. The first one from Richer Living says, "You are either attracting or repelling in accordance with your mental attitudes. You are either identifying yourself with lack or with abundance, with love and friendship or with indifference. You cannot keep from attracting into your experience that which corresponds to the sum total of your state of consciousness. It is like the law of reflection. The reflection corresponds to the image held before a mirror. Your life is a mirror peopled with the forms of your own acceptance." In Prayer and Prosperity from 1974, he says, "The reflection of an image in a mirror is an exact likeness of the image which it was held before the mirror. So the law of cause and effect reflects back to us a likeness of the images of our thoughts. Thus we are told that we reflect the glory of God, but too often we reflect the fear and limitation of humans rather than the glory of God." And in The Science of Mind, he says, "Because thought is made of stuff that forms the universe and to define creation, the law is charged with the power that we give it, no more and no less. It responds by correspondence. It is a mirror and a perfect one. It forms our ideas and beliefs into visible form and casts them back multiplied. It does not know it is doing this, but it knows how to do it. This is one of the great enigmas of the universe." From the Christian Bible, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Matthew 7, 1 through 2. And Holmes again says, "We should strive toward a perfect vision, a perfect concept. We should expand our thought until it realizes all good and then cuts through all that appearance to be science of mind." To be, appearance to be. Well, it can be science of mind too. I've spent a lot of time lately thinking on how I don't like how I react to the political situation in our country. And this is not a political speech. This is about my reaction to politics. And I hope the fact that my screen keeps going black is not an issue. But I had been noticing that when different things came on the news, I was getting extremely angry. Angry enough that I could tell it in my voice and I could feel it in my body. And I thought, this is not good. And then with twice in the last couple of days, I have read spiritual type readings about mirrors. I have not had the Science of Mind magazine in a long time, but I purchased a subscription recently because there was a story in the January one about Alex Trebek and his wife, who is a Science of Mind practitioner. It's a beautiful story about the practitioner consciousness, and it was mostly about Jean and less about Alec, but it was great. And I've decided to start reading the meditations for this year. And since I didn't get started, I've been reading January and February both. The February ones are by Reverend Michael Gott, who is someone I think highly of and usually says something that I need to hear. And his meditation for last Sunday was on mirrors and our shadow self. And he reminded me yet again that my reactions to people is because of something that's going on within me. And I've also been reading a book called You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jean Kasinko. This is a really good book. It was recommended to me about 9 months ago, and I let the title of it keep me from reading it from a long time. When I finally opened it, the first quote in it was from Michael Beckwith, who is also someone else that usually says something I need to hear. And as soon as I saw that, I started reading it. And I've been reading it differently than I read most things, in that I read it a chapter a day, which gives me time to think about it. And one of the chapters is entitled Millions of Mirrors. I thought, wow, somebody's trying to help me understand some stuff that's going on. And I've always understood that the people who are directly in our lives are definitely a mirror to our inside thoughts and to what our real thoughts are. But what hit me right between the eyes with this is my reaction to the political situation and our political leaders is also a reflection of what's going on in me. If I didn't have a fear or a thought that that my actions could be like their actions, it wouldn't make me so angry. So I had to really sit down and do some serious thinking about what's going on. One of Jean's quotes is, "Your reality is created by what you focus on and how you choose to interpret it." This goes for everything, including the things you focus on, and also about the people in your world. And though I limit how much news I watch or listen to, these political leaders are still in my world. So what are they doing that pushes all my buttons, that registers something within me? And the first thing that came to my mind was my personal thought. This is not a political talk. This is my personal reactions to what's going on. But part of mine is I've questioned their ethics and their ability to tell the truth or even recognize the truth. And I've always considered myself a very ethical person. And somebody reminded me several years ago that when you're truly in integrity and within your ethics, you also do what is the most important to you. And I don't always do that. I let situations and things going on around me impact the decisions I make, rather than going through my heart or for what I know is for my highest good. So yes, sometimes I do question my own integrity, like I've questioned the integrity of some of our political leaders. And then we really got down to brass tacks. And I realized part of my issue is their overwhelming need to be right, no matter which person it is or which party it is or which situation it is. And I hate to admit it, but I do have an overwhelming need to be right. I have, over the years, backed off of that a lot, so I am no longer wrapped up in it. But it does push my buttons, because this is some of the things I either don't like about myself or question about myself or judge about myself. So this puts me in a situation of seeing these people as a mirror. Jean also says, or it's Jen, not Jean. Jen also says, the people you surround yourself with are excellent mirrors for who you are and how much or how little you love yourself. And this was another thing to look at. Do I surround myself and think about and see in people love, or do I see judgment? She goes on to say, what is really going on is you're being faced with rewiring your limited beliefs around yourselves. And you're using the excuses for these people and other people to avoid facing your own issues. At the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about you believing you're worthy of being loved and seeing who you really are. And she also says, never apologize for who you truly are. It lets down the whole world. So I've done some thought about, why am I reacting to these people in this way? And then I brought it even closer to home and realized that I had been expressing an awful lot of anger towards someone close to me and was getting really irritated because that person was expressing a lot of anger back at me. And it dawned on me as I was writing this that that person is just reflecting back to me what I reflected to them, and that I need to make a shift. And Jen goes on to talk about how to make the shift. And the first thing she says is own your ugly. And that's what I've been talking about when I admitted to myself my need to be right, my judgment around my own integrity and the integrity of others, and seeing how my anger is being reflected back to me. She says, instead of allowing other people to drive you nuts, use them as a mirror. Ask yourself questions such as, is this quality something I have or something where I loathe to admit about me? And I've talked about that already. Does their actions make me remember something about myself that I want to suppress or avoid? And I hate to admit it, but yes, I don't particularly want to admit that sometimes I'm out of integrity, or sometimes I have an overwhelming need to be right, or sometimes I'm a control freak. But these are true things, and I definitely see it reflected in the interaction of our politicians right now. She goes on to say, instead of being furious, be fascinated and observe and watch your thoughts and actions, which is what I've been doing for the last few days. The second step is question your ugly. Begin to ask yourself simple questions and diffuse the limited and false stories that you lug around with you. Consider the situation of a friend who is always late. I'm sure some of us have friends that are always late. And since in my family, being late is probably maybe the 11th most deadly sin, it is not something that is tolerated. I am usually at least 5 minutes early to everything I go to. In my family, I'm considered late because I'm not at least 15 to 20 to 30 minutes early. But someone pointed out to me at one point, it's almost as rude to be too early as it is to be late, because sometimes people aren't ready for you yet. So how do I deal with this friend that's late all the time? I can get angry. I can be judgmental. And then I can ask myself questions like, oh, how am I always late? Or how am I always inconsiderate? Or how am I unreliable? Turn it around and ask the question about yourself. Is there some way that I am too rigid or too controlling? That I expect everybody to be there on time, and I expect them to be there in my time frame? And then as you acknowledge the feelings around it, ask yourself, who do I need to be for this situation not to bother me? Do I need to stop expecting people to act the way that I think they should act in every situation? And even more so, can I let go of this? Can I just allow it to be what it's going to be? And especially with friends that are chronically late, they're probably always going to be chronically late. And you can either sit there and be angry or take a deep breath and maybe meditate till they get there. And then ask yourself, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out about this anger that I have around this person? If I'm being rigid, what is my reward? Well, by being rigid, I'm always on time and I get a lot of stuff done. But the negative thing of that is I can intimidate other people into my way of thinking. And I always get to be right when other people mess up. And then I'm controlling again. When I was putting this together, I was thinking about how my husband and I approach doing a project. When I say I'm going to do it, I start it very soon, and I work from the beginning to the end of it, if at all possible. That is not how my husband does things. My husband may talk about it for 2 weeks and then work for 20 minutes and rest for 30 minutes. Now, as a rigid, controlling person, you can see that this might make me angry at times. And it really doesn't work well on our relationship. And I get angry and feel put upon and everything else. And he gets angry because I'm pushing him to do something he doesn't want to do right now. And it's a no-win situation. And I have to ask myself, how would I feel if I wasn't feeling rigid and controlling and just let things evolve the way they wanted to? I might find that I relaxed. I might take more time to enjoy listening to the birds sing or watch the leaves fall or even the snow fall or something like that. And one of the things Jen said was, just think about all the extra brain space that you could have if you were not being angry for people for being late or not doing what you thought they should do in that moment. Just think of all the wonderful things you could do if you weren't worried about what other people were doing at that time. And she also says, along the same line, to give painful people the heave-ho, to just let them go. She said, we have to admit that some people are so dedicated to their own dysfunction that it's impossible to continue to have them in our life. And unfortunately, a lot of times, these may be our relatives or people that we're close to. I've watched my husband for years try to help his son. And it's to the point that it's not help anymore. It's to the point that it's gone to enabling and it's something he expects. And Bill keeps trying to explain to him that he can't do it anymore. And it keeps happening over and over again. What she suggests in this is when you come to the place where it's really time to let somebody go, let them go. You can't explain to them why you're letting them go because they won't hear it. You just need to let them go. And you need to become so busy that there's no longer time for them to be part of your life. And that's basically what you tell them is, I'm sorry, I've got other things going on right now and I can't do that. And she also says on this one, first you need to get it into your head that you are being nice to yourself instead of being mean to them. And sometimes when we let go of the people who are so dysfunctional, it does feel like we're being mean to them. But we need to shift our attitude and know that we're being nice to ourselves and that we are truly loving ourselves fiercely, loyally, and unapologetically. I want to do a very short meditation that I've been doing. And it's kind of based on Buddhist loving kindness meditation, but it's not exactly like that. It's the same idea. And I always remember the story of Ram Dass when he did the Buddhist loving kindness meditation. He had his altar set up, and he had a person he loved deeply on one side, and he had the first George Bush on the other side because he did not agree with him and he was very angry with him. So he would do his loving kindness meditation. And so we're going to do a meditation right now about bringing love into ourselves and then bringing loved ones in, and then those that push all of our buttons in. So if you'll just take a moment to relax in your chair and take a deep breath and breathe in and breathe out a few times. And now I want you to know as you inhale that you are breathing in the love of God. And as you exhale, you're exhaling anything unlike love. So breathe in the love of God and exhale anything unlike love 3 times. And now breathe in the joy of God and exhale anything unlike the joy of God. Now breathe in the peace of God and exhale anything unlike the peace of God. Now I want you to again inhale the love of God. And as you inhale this love, bring in someone who is very close and special to you that you love deeply. And now as you breathe in love, bring in that person or that situation or that group that really pushes all your buttons. And breathe in love and exhale anything unlike love. And now one more time, breathe in love and bring yourself in as you love yourself totally and completely. And as you stay in that space, I'm going to read an affirmation and take this into your heart. I'm willing to see all the good all around me and everyone I meet. I am willing to see my own part in blocking the light of spirit. I am willing to let go of all that stands in the way of love. Thank you for being here and have a great day.